Yeehaw. Are we there? That looks weird, doesn't it, Aaron?
It definitely looks weird.
I wonder what that's about.
Not sure. Then again, it could be the amount of sun that I got. I'm paler from here up.
Well, how about now?
Nah, you look fine, Frank.
How about you?
Yeah, I look burnt. Other than that, we're fine.
Oh,
I am actually paler
somebody
from
was wearing a hat
here
and
up.
sunglasses and sat in the stands all afternoon probably for a couple of days.
Yep.
And now they have. I've been outside, but I've been working around trees, so I think my color. I've got actually, I've got actually two black eyes.
How did that happen?
If you look on the bridge of my nose,
Oh
see the
yeah,
bridge
there's
of
a
my
bit of
nose?
a cut there.
Okay, so no, it wasn't an altercation of any kind.
Did you try to catch a tree with your face?
No. What
Okay.
happened was we have these puppies, three,
Ah, yes.
and mommy doesn't like when we both sleep in the bedroom. So one of us has to sleep in the living room beside the playpen where she is with the babies. So Frank, being old, has to get up numerous times in the night and make the trip to the potty. You know, I'm urinally challenged. So the first time I forgot where I was, and I tripped over the ottoman, grabbed the cage that has the playpen in it. It didn't hold me, went down, hit the food dish,
Oh
and plunked
goodness.
his fat nose onto the floor. Blood everywhere. And I'm going to the bathroom and I'm trying to look for the bandages like this. They're down here, but I'm looking like this. So I woke up my lovely partner, Bev, and she kindly woke up and gave me a bandage and quickly scurried off to bed after she goes, "Holy crap, where's all that blood coming from?" And I showed her my nose. And she gave me a little bandage for this part, and I plugged the two nostrils, and everything's been fine since. And then yesterday, 2 days after I fell, all of a sudden, I have black eyes.
Oh goodness.
I thought I dodged a bullet. We thought I dodged a bullet. No black eyes. Usually, when your nose bleeds or something, something happens to your nose, you end up with a black eye or two. So I'm completely with black eyes, but don't tell anybody because I'm going to tell them a different story.
Hey, your
I'm going
secret
to
is
tell them
safe with me.
I'm going to tell them I was in a barroom fight with a bunch of 20-year-olds, and I look better than they do.
Is that one of those you should see the other guys kind of stories?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll use that exact phrase. That's what I should use. Let's get to why we're here. Anything special happened to you before since we used some of this time to talk about my personal life?
I,
I know.
I I
Go
was gonna
ahead.
say I learned a lot more about green Savory than I ever thought I would. I learned a lot more about go trains. I also learned that when I take days off, I usually tend to punish myself by getting up extremely early. So, there's that.
Are you okay now that you're
Oh yeah.
regular sleeping? Now that you're back at work?
Yeah, I brought my F1 tan back in full force. My knees look fantastic. There's a great line on my feet where my sandals were, and I think I have a glasses tan on the side of my head too, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
So, what did you think? What are we going to talk about the race at some point?
We do. I do have a section on the race, but we can lead with that if you'd like. That's not
Yeah,
a
let's
problem.
lead with that. You were there.
Sure.
I mean, it was the first time for Markham. It'll be the first in a 5 year. They have a 5 year contract, from what I understand. So
Hmm.
there'll be five races. This was the first. There'll be four more. Markham's been itching to do stuff like this. And if anybody remembers who's a hockey fan, there was even talk of putting the other NHL team, if we had one here in Toronto, putting it in Markham or Vaughan. So Markham's been spoiling for some attention.
Well, so there were some issues with the track. Let's get that out of the way first. Friday was a complete write off. I got there at 7:44 in the morning for doors open at 8:30. There was supposed to be on track activity at 8:50 a.m. made an announcement at 9:10 that unfortunately the track was still not prepared. There were issues with some of the jersey barriers in turn 5, which is some people call it a hairpin, other people call it a U-turn, other folks call it a horseshoe, but it is basically a 180-degree reversal in the track at that point. Now, I'm no track design expert by any stretch of the imagination, but knowing race drivers as I do, the temptation to try to cut the corner and go inside on somebody, especially in a place like that, is nigh irresistible. Uh,
But it happened.
100% it happened. It also caused approximately 9 or 10 different cautions over the course of 2 different days for individuals trying to sneak there a little too quickly. Most notably in the USF 2000 race on the morning of Saturday. 7 cautions, I think, in total in the race. 3 in that particular corner. 2 in the turns 9, 10, and 11 complex, where drivers failed to successfully navigate themselves behind a pace car. It was not a good race for the USF 2000 pros. But at the end of the day, on the Saturday, they managed to get everything in place, got FIA approval to release the track, and we did a lot of racing. There were 8 races over the course of the weekend. There was NASCAR Canada. That was won by Marc-Antoine Camarand. Andrew Ranger placed second, and LP Dumoulin placed third. Connor Bell and Alex Guinnett also had a really good showing fourth and fifth. Gary Clutton, DJ Kennington, and Daniel Boy finished in another group, 6, 7, and 8. And Malcolm Strong and Daryl Timmers finished 9th and 10th. Really good race. They were the first on-track activity on Saturday morning for their qualifying session before closing out the day. The FEL Radical Cup. I don't know if you know what radicals are, Frank, but there are neat little 1,100-pound cars powered by a 1,500cc motorcycle engine. They go like stink, and they're very loud. Timothy Pernod.
The ones with the flat roofs, are they?
No, you're thinking the midget cars with the big wing on the top?
Yeah.
These ones look like modified Le Mans cars. They've got the big
Oh, okay. These are the midget cars.
Yeah, basically. Chris Stiles, Stephen Wistuba, and Cedric O'Hayon in the Masters class in race 1. Then there was Timothy Pernod, Antoine Seneschal, and Sidney Castles on the podium for the pro class as well. They had another 2 races. Alex Tagliani won his, followed by Brandon Clampton and Antoine Seneschal. And in the Masters class, which is 65 and up, Cedric O'Hayon, John Painter, and Chris Stiles rounded up the top 3 there. The drama-filled USF 2000s race featured Sebastian Garzin, Brad Mamjan, and Evan Cooley, with the top Canadians in the series being Anthony Martella, who placed 4th, Lucas Nanji, who placed 8th, and Cole Medeiros, who placed 18th. Overall, fantastic series. Some drivers actually managed to break their donuts. And when I say donuts, I mean it was a 23-month drought between wins for one of them. In particular, we're looking at brain just skipped a bit there. We're looking at Marcus Ericsson, who actually took the lead from Romain Grosjean with 5 laps left in the IndyCar feature race at 2 o'clock on the Sunday. It's so close, but unfortunately Grosjean had to maintain a certain speed in order to conserve enough fuel to actually finish. They went with a slightly riskier strategy where they kept him out a little bit longer. Didn't take as much fuel as perhaps he should have, but at the end of the day, it was Ericsson first, Grosjean second, and Will Power third for the inaugural Honda Dealers Indy at Markham. Despite the first day hiccups, fabulous race. The facilities were nice. Could have used with a little more cleaning, but that's just a personal gripe. Almost too much activity on the Saturday, and just enough on the Sunday to keep things interesting. So it doesn't look like it was all that bad for Green Savory, but there is the issues that they'll have to address with being able to set the track up properly in time. There were a lot of tire barriers that were missing and jersey barriers that needed moved to accommodate. But at the end of the day, I think it was a good first event.
I'm glad you had a good time.
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, let's go to the rest. This is grading the offseason. Toronto Maple Leafs. What grade do they get?
Well, looking at everything that leads into the offseason, if last year was a one-off, I think we're okay in this regard. Um, they're going to get themselves at least a passing grade for what they've done here. They made McKenna the top pick. That was expected. They've got him signed to an entry-level deal. They also signed Sergei Bobrovsky to a 3-year deal. They also got Darren Radish. They're reuniting Bobrovsky with Stolars to give us a pretty good 1-2 punch as long as they stay healthy. With the additions of Nick Paul, Jack Roslovic, Colton Sissons, Teddy Bluger, and Brandon Duhaime, there's a lot that's changed up front for the Leafs. Their bottom six is going to look radically different. Zach McEwen has been added. Emil Andre has been added. Unfortunately, out the door are Joseph Woll, Brandon Carlo, Simone Benoit, Nick Robertson, Dennis Hildeby, and Matthias Michelli. Overall, though, I think I'm going to give them a B or a B plus. Now, they didn't sit still after last year. I think the management was aware they needed to do more. So at the end of the day, they're not exactly sitting pretty, but they're far better positioned to optimize the players they have now than they were last year.
The question isn't for me, are they a better team? The question for me is, did they use what they had asset wise and use it in a way that helped them to make it at least seem that they're building a better team with better players? I think as well, as far as the grade is concerned, there is this nagging thought that we all have and that we understand that Austin Matthews in the past 2 years under Berube was maybe handcuffed offensively. That's what we're being led to believe. I'm not 100% sure about that. But the fact is, if they're going to stop consistently have him do faceoffs in the defensive zone, and they have guys now that they've brought in who are more defensively conscious, which I think they've done, take the load to the bottom six when it comes to defense, take the load to offense in the top six, led by Austin Matthews. If that's what they're doing, at its face, it makes sense. It makes total sense. If Austin Matthews is healthy, and if his health helps him to show that he's a guy that can generate offense. I'm going to say this, as I said it last year at the beginning of the year. For Austin Matthews to be a captain and a leader on this team, he has to be more than a trigger man. He has to generate offense. And if he can't generate offense, they've got to bring somebody in really good and really expensive to do that. Or find a first round draft pick, a first overall pick that has offensive talents. So that's where the Leafs are. So they lucked out in getting a really good offensive player, and he fills the void. It's not that he fills the Marner void, because I don't like that. That's not what it is. He's filling the void where Austin Matthews is never shown to be a generator of offense. He's a trigger man. And that's why they're lucky that they won the first overall pick, and they've got a pretty good kid in that they're bringing in. But Aaron, he's a kid. But I got to tell you, when luck is concerned, the hockey gods were very kind to the Maple Leafs this offseason.
Now, speaking of Matthews, his rehabilitation specialist, Dr. Sean Roebuck, has also posted some additional information. Roebuck primarily works on neck and lower back injuries. He actually said he's the founder of Fix Medical Group. They're a consultant group that's worked with athletes across the NHL, NFL, PGA, and Olympians. He actually sat down on Thursday with First Up and Aaron Korlanek and Mike DiStefano. He said, as it currently stands, the lower back and the neck aren't his issue this year, which obviously implies at some point in the past it was.
Said his lower back wasn't an issue this year.
Yes. Now they are taking care of the knee. That's the important part.
That's a side issue.
Yeah, exactly. But Bill Knowles out of Philadelphia is the one who's primarily working with Austin about that. He's out of Philadelphia. His expertise lies in applying the precise demands and force needed to rebuild tissue for high-level performance. So that's a good sign. Now, this guy is also one that's worked with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, so there is history there. But there was an upper body injury that he had through the 24-25 season. There was the knee injury in 25-26. And as the Leafs are getting ready for the 26-27 season, the work that Robeck and the large group of specialists that he has is going to be all the more important for Austin.
Well, they're going to need a team that understands that he's got a weakness now because of his therapist, or whatever you want to call him, making mention of a lower back historical issue when it comes to Austin Matthews, and leaving the door open that he has neck issues. For those that are experts in the body and how there's symmetry in the body with all the parts that make up a complete body, in this case, the neck, I'm hearing, I'm not an expert, but I'm hearing it can affect the way you shoot. And if that's true, that it can affect the way you shoot, it might explain why Matthews has not had a devastating shot the last couple of years. It's less about him taking faceoffs in the defensive zone. I think it's more about his health, and his ability to shoot the puck has been severely handicapped by something. And now what we're finding is there might be an explanation as to why. Lower back solved, knee is a problem, a new one, but the neck issue is the one that I'm very curious on myself. So we'll see. His health, Austin Matthews has had a lot of injuries. Most of the injuries that he's had now, we have some really bad ones, but like with the knee and stuff. But he had wrist issues, which hides the fact, of why he's not shooting as hard as he used to. The wrist is a key component for that. So he needs healthy wrists, healthy arms, healthy neck. He needs to be healthy. And the Leafs have a guy that can feed him the puck now. I don't know if he'll be on the first line, or if he'll be with, having him with Tavares would be a good teaching moment for him to take in from a really good professional in John Tavares. So it's going to be an interesting experience, to say the least.
Most definitely.
New jerseys. What's this about?
So apparently the Leafs are trying something called Remix Night. There are going to be a few different nights. In particular, there's going to be obviously the usual St. Pat's and Next Gen themed outings. They're going to be wearing their St. Pat's jerseys on March 17th against the Lightning, while their Next Gen game is going to take place December 21st against the Capitals. But they also have introduced something called Remix Nights. Toronto is going to be hosting 9 of those, which is a nod to the hometown remix partnership between all 32 NHL franchises and Fanatics jerseys. This is going to be the Maple Leafs alternate jersey since the Drew House next jersey design was unveiled in 2022. That's the one that Justin came up with.
Right.
Now, these nights are going to take place between November 7th and February 16th. November itself is going to see 4 remix nights, with the Habs as opponents for the first, the Oilers 1 week later, the Kings on the 19th, and the Philadelphia Flyers on the 30th. In December, the Anaheim Ducks and Lightning will experience remix nights on the 13th and 19th. The St. Louis Blues will be in town for a theme night on January 18th. And the final 2 remix nights are going to be against Columbus and Carolina on February 8th and 16th, respectively. It's been reported that the Leafs, as well as the other franchises in the NHL, will have new jerseys for this remix thing. You can see a little bit of this going on because New York was recently having a remix jersey design contest, none of which look good. But, Aesthetics, who's a source for NHL jerseys and logo design, said that they know the color bases for each. They're apparently going to be wearing a beige or vintage white, which is what Aesthetics announced back in May of this year. Now, none of their previous throwbacks have gone off-white, but it could be paired with leather brown gloves and pants, too, like they've seen with the St. Pat's uniforms. That would match the color waves of the Maple Leafs announcement of their theme nights on social media, which had a beige-colored background behind the schedule for the remix nights. So that is an interesting development. It's also more money for people to spend.
Are you a fan of the brown gloves?
If they're actually leather, yes. Otherwise, nah. Same goes for the pants and the helmets. I don't know why you're bothering to do that. But again, I'm not the one that's making these decisions. I'm also not the one that they're aiming at when it comes to buying these jerseys. So
And you're
I'm
not the one they care about buying the jerseys. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, well, sounds cool. Okay, so now we're hearing drips and drabs of how it is that Bobrovsky ended up being a Maple Leaf, and where did Florida and Bobrovsky come apart at the seams a little bit so that he left. Tell us about it, Aaron.
So Daria Tuboltseva of RG Media has reported that the Panthers apparently had a $12 million contract on the table for Bobrovsky, but a dispute over the inclusion of a no-trade clause prevented the deal from being agreed to. The Panthers first reportedly offered Bobrovsky a one-year, $4 million contract. Later upgraded their offer to 2 years, $6 million per, which is identical to the one that they're currently paying Markstrom. He was set to accept the deal, but also wanted a no-trade clause, which that was what the Panthers were unwilling to include. Now, with that disagreement, Shaika and the Leafs jumped all over that, handing him a 3-year, $7 million AAV that includes a full no-movement clause for all 3 seasons, which pays into exactly what Bobrovsky wanted. So, of course, in the end, that's why he came here.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. They genuflect. All right, let's talk about the Jays now. Let's talk about Vladdy, who is in concussion protocol.
So I don't know if you caught the game.
I did.
But on Saturday, Vladdy took a thigh and a knee to the head, sliding into third before managing to get himself home, at which point he didn't look well. So they've decided at that point that they're going to option him and put him on the 7-day IL because of concussion symptoms. And they brought up Daz Cameron from AAA Buffalo to make room on the 40-man roster. Lazaro Estrada was designated for assignment. Also on Saturday, Toronto recalled left-handed Ricky Tiedemann from Buffalo and optioned right-handed pitcher Chase Lee to AAA. So he left Friday over the Yankees following a collision with George Lombard Jr. at third base in the 6th inning. But, there obviously it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like he was trying to take Vladdy out. He was just trying to dodge him. But at the end of the game, John Schneider said Guerrero had a little bit of a headache and said he still had a headache on Saturday, hence the move to the 7-day IL.
It was a subtle effect. It wasn't like one of those where the guy's out cold and then gets up and or any kind of overt signal that he got hurt. It was more or less after he crossed the plate. He got to the plate okay, but then he slowed down when he got to the plate, and that's where the concerns started. So Cease, a great pitcher for the Blue Jays. They signed him. He's been amazing. He's second in voting for the Cy Young in the American League. And my goodness, another 200 strikeout season for him.
Yeah, he's got an ERA of 2.42. He's got another 200 strikeout performance. This is the 6th time he's done it. So that ties him with Clayton Kershaw, Felix Hernandez, Randy Johnson, Bert Blyleven, Mickey Lolich, Sam McDowell, and Sandy Koufax for the 4th longest streak in baseball history. He's still got to catch Seaver, Scherzer, Sale, Clemens, and Johnson, who have had longer consecutive 200 strikeout seasons. The unfortunate thing in all of this is, unfortunately, the Jays, because of that loss, and this is absolutely ridiculous, they just can't seem to catch a break, now find themselves back out of a wild card spot. So
that is what it is. I mean, when you consider where they were 3 weeks ago, they're in pretty good shape right now. There were people talking 3 weeks ago that they didn't have a mathematical chance of making it to the postseason. That mathematical chance now is a matter of continuing the string of 2 out of 3 wins, winning series. If they can keep winning series, they will be in the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind. Let's talk about the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who have lost 3 games in a row until their latest game. And who comes in to play quarterback? Trey Ford. He leads them to victory.
Yeah, he took over for Harrison Frost in the 3rd quarter. He led 3 of 4 drives to points and finished with 151 yards and a touchdown on 13 for 17 passing. He also added 38 rushing yards on 4 attempts to help Hamilton snap their skid and improve to 4-6. Carrick Wheatfall led all Ticats receivers, tallying 108 yards, as well as his first receiving major in the black and gold. Now, it wasn't their best start. Let's be honest here; they were a little bit sloppy. They each managed, they only managed two first downs in the opening quarter, but the Ticats made the most of an early opportunity to take the lead. Trevor Harris's first attempt at the game was tipped and picked off by Stavros Katsantonis on the Riders' side of the field, and Frost then connected with Myron Mitchell in the end zone 2 snaps later. Alex Hale fired back for Saskatchewan, building off a missless Week 10 with field goals from 48 and 41. Harris settled in before the break, leading a 9-play, 84-yard drive and capping it with a throw to John Johnson third. So, back and forth. But at the end of the day, even though Harris finished with 207 yards, a touchdown, and a pair of INTs on 23 out of 35 passing, it wasn't enough. Trey just happened to have exactly what the Ticats needed.
Well, the Bombers win and the Red Blacks lose, something the Red Blacks have done 9 times. A perfect 0-9 record.
There's something to be said for donuts, but at the same time, I don't think that's one that they want to keep feasting on. They were within striking distance throughout the second half and made it a 5-point game with just over 4 minutes left. But Winnipeg answered back. Dembski caught a 33-yarder through traffic to seal the victory for them. Ottawa opened the scoring, which is a bit of a change, with a 37-yard field goal by Brett Lowther. But at the end of the day, I don't think they had enough of what it took to try to get there. It's they now head back east in Week 12 to face the Owls on Thursday before heading home again for a clash against the BC Lions in Week 13. Winnipeg is going to be facing Edmonton on Friday before returning to Princess Audio Stadium to host the Owls in Week 13 as well. You happen to be on mute, Frank, but the Elks did manage to shut down the Argonauts rather handily. Despite 355 net offensive yards combined by both the Elks and the Argos in the first half, points were hard to come by in the first 30 minutes. Lidster missed a couple, still managed to put points on the board before the break. Kevin Meidel gave the Argonauts offense some life and set out Nick Arbuckle to punch it in before the half expired. But I tell you, it was just not a good game in general for the Argonauts. 42-12 was the final.
The Argos and Hamilton are just going to decide who makes the playoffs. They both won't. Not this year.
You don't think so?
Good enough? No, they're not good enough. And the West has 4 teams that are going to be better than one of them.
Yeah, I see 4-5 and 4-6 for Toronto and Hamilton, respectively, does put them behind Winnipeg, BC, and Calgary. So we're probably going to see a crossover situation this year.
Yep, pretty much a lock. Those teams have been a bit more consistent than the Argos and Ticats. The Argos were hoping that starting quarterback would be an issue, and Trey Ford proved he could win against a pretty good team. Saskatchewan's a pretty good team, so the Argos are going to be in tough. Let's go to tennis and OJ
So basically, Cincinnati Open. Felix Auger-Aliassime was actually coming back off an injury, which he suffered during the National Bank Open in Montreal. But he beat Tsitsipas in Cincinnati with a 6-3, 7-5 win. He actually is seated second at the Masters level event, but was struggling in the second set and failed to serve out the match while up 5-4. But he broke back in the next game and made no mistakes on his second chance to clear that out. In women's action later Sunday, the qualifier Qiyu Wang of China bounced 30th seeded Leylah Fernandez 3-6, 6-2, 6-2. Fernandez, who made it to the round of 16 at the NBO in Toronto last week, had 26 unforced errors, which unfortunately kind of did her in. To couple with 7 double faults and only 1 ace, you're going to find yourself a little hard put to win.
Let's talk NHL Canadian teams. Start with the Habs.
Sure. There's some question now as to whether or not the salary structure for the Canadiens is going to cause them problems. Noah Dobson is going to be the Canadiens' highest player at $9.5 million. Ivan Demidov will be making 9.15. Lane Hudson is going to be making 8.85. Uri Slafkovsky has a $7.6 million cap hit. Cole Caulfield is at 7.85, as is Nick Suzuki. But, at that point, with other players making up to $18 million a year, could the Habs players start thinking their GM took them for a ride? I don't think so. I think a lot of the lower contracts that these guys are taking are indicative of the fact that they actually want to win more than put themselves ahead. But we'll have to see how it goes. But it's certainly an interesting situation.
How can you not be happy with just under 10 million a year?
I don't know, because I guess it's
I'm
not
just
10.
saying. I'm just saying. If you're looking around the locker room and if they can afford to pay their guys, they're really good guys, 9 million. We're talking 10 players at that makes 90 million. So that's a fair bit of change too, where I think the point can rest in the players. Do they want to win? And to win, they need depth. To get depth, you gotta have some money to pay for depth, and it just is that simple. Let's talk about the Sens, and they've had an interesting offseason. There seems to be more bitterness as time moves on with their former captain.
It's funny how time and distance will bring grievances to the fore.
Hey,
Um,
oh,
but yeah, what with getting rid of Kachuk, Lars Eller, James Reimer, and David Perron. Now, not so much that they got rid of them, but Lars Eller was a free agent that got picked up.
I like
James
Lars
Reimer
Eller.
and David Perron are still unsigned and they're UFAs. They added Eklund, Burakovsky, Hultinen, and Sam Urson through a Toronto-Philadelphia trade. Kachuk was not something the Senators wanted to do, but they kind of had to. They couldn't let him walk as a free agent in 2028 after telling them basically, hey, I'm not going to resign. They said, well, we got to get something for him. There's no underselling the fact that Florida did get better marginally, but the Senators still have a good core and added to try to stay in the mix in a rather harsh and unforgiving Atlantic.
I agree. They have a lot of really good players, and if they grow and keep growing, they'll be just fine, in my opinion. Let's talk about the Oilers. Mike Babcock and Trent Frederick had an off year last year. Some talk that maybe the new coach can trigger a return to his ability.
Yeah, and here's the thing: when they brought him in, he was supposed to be one of those baggage smashers that was going to finish checks, get physical, provide offense occasionally to move him around the lineup where necessary. They were hopefully paying for a player that was going to be involved every night. Instead, they're currently paying for a player who's gone largely unnoticed. With his $3.85 million cap hit, he could enter training camp fighting just to stay in the NHL. He runs the real risk of getting paid $3.85 million a season to play in Bakersfield. Now he's well liked by his teammates, and he's never had a reputation as a problem in the room. But here's the thing: when you've got a $4 million salary, you got to be better than he was. So the thinking is here. Knobloch never found a way to get him back involved in the game, but maybe Mike Babcock with his coaching style can.
Or
Yeah, I mean it's basically
friendly.
what he needs.
Yeah, he needs a system that's friendly to his style, and there's a lot of stuff that hockey players make a hockey player play well and play badly. And sometimes it's just relationships in the locker room. Sometimes it's relationships outside of hockey. Sometimes it's the way life is going. So it's going to be their job to figure out how to make this guy, whom they're paying a lot of money, by the way. It's not just about getting him back to this game. It's about him earning the money that they're paying him. They're paying him a good chunk of change. Let's move on to the Canucks. A team that has been on spin cycle as far as insanity goes. Is it going to end? Is it finally going to end where the Vancouver Canucks can become a team without problems that are rooted in the locker room?
See, and here's the other thing, coupled with the problem that they might have in the locker room, is what it's going to cost. And I'll be honest, on upfront, and everybody who knows me knows this, I am not a fan of on-demand and premium ticket and surge pricing and all this other foo-for-raw that the NHL has brought in. For their season opener against the Calgary Flames, tickets are going to be $108. For those who want to sit down lower, it's going to be $365 or $372 after fees and taxes. When the Carolina Hurricanes come to town, that's the Stanley Cup champions. The cheapest ticket's only $84.
Uh-huh.
When Minnesota comes to town just before Halloween, it's $159 before taxes and fees. The Wild are coming a couple weeks after that. Tickets are going to start at $130.
But let's remember why the Wild are anyway.
Trust me, I think everybody wants to see him back.
Exactly.
See how he does.
This is all about they're basically maximizing the value of tickets based on demand. And it's a business move. The Sabres are notorious for it. They charge twice as much for Leaf tickets as they do any other team Leafs, Montreal, you know the drill.
Speaking of, when the Leafs are in town on Halloween, the cheapest ticket is going to be $299.
There you go.
And the Habs are going to be $155.
Yeah. It's there. That's what it is. I mean, they draw people. Those teams draw people, and I tell you, as much as everybody hates the Leafs, it seems, I'll tell you, if you're an organization, you'd love to have them come play 5-6 times, never mind just once. So as much as people hate the Leafs, they make money for everybody, not just the Leafs. They make money for the other teams as well.
It's like the concept of hate watching.
It is what it is, buddy. I got to tell you. Well, we've got, just so people know, if you're interested in going to an Argo game, when you buy the ticket this week for the game on the 22nd on Saturday, it is also going to get you into the X. And that's a good deal. Get a football ticket and get entrance into the X for free because you have that ticket. Piece of advice here. So, it's about a $30, $40 ticket, and then you don't pay to go into the X. So it's a good deal. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, most definitely. It'll be my first time out this year. So, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's only the second game, so you haven't missed that much. Let's not make Aaron look like he's been, not coming to Argo games. There haven't been many home games. Anyway, thanks for doing this, Aaron.
Appreciate that, Frank.
My pleasure working with you all the time. Thanks for doing this. And for those of you that watch, thank you for watching. And subscribe. We'll talk to you again next time. Have a great Monday.